You're listening to Pyro Media Network, setting brands ablaze since 2017. What is going on, Mavericks? We are back with the first inaugural episode of the Unusual Mavericks, the podcast, where we deep dive into episode reviews, shows, and so much more. I am joined by the amazing, the bearded one, Just Dominic. What's going on?
Hey, Kwame. It is good to be here, and everyone, this is going to be a blast. So we're very happy that
Yes.
you decided to download this podcast.
Yes. We appreciate it wherever you're listening on. We appreciate it. All right, y'all. Let's get into this episode is going to be about it's going to be part one of the first half of X-Men 97, the series. Um, the series that is been revamped and brought back from the original X-Men animated series, which took place in the 90s. So I'm looking forward to reviewing it. We are going to be reviewing the first half because the first half has only been released, and then we will review the last half as well as give our commentary for our overall feelings for the entire series at the end of part two of this X-Men 97 series. So I'm excited. Let's start out with episode one. Episode one was To Me, My X-Men. And this one was kind of like, first of all, it was directed by Jake Castorina, excuse me, and written by the one and the only Bo DeMaio. And the synopsis is basically 1 year after Charles Xavier left Earth with the Shi'ar, the X-Men continued their mission to defend mutants and humans alike and go on to become legally sanctioned by the United Nations. Additionally, Jean Grey has become pregnant while support for mutants has grown. After the X-Men save a young mutant named Roberto da Costa from the Friends of Humanity, Jean sees the X-Men save sorry, Jean sees that they were outfitted with Sentinel tech. She visits Henry Peter Gyrich in prison and probes his mind for the location of the Sentinel's creator, Bolivar Trask. Despite succeeding, she receives a horrifying premonition while doing so. So all of this is going on, and we kind of get into the whole master mold rebuilding of his sentinels and the aid of the lobotomized master mold, and then like we get into the like one of my favorite scenes in there. But before we get into all of that, opening, just kind of starting the show out, how did you feel watching it, Dominic? Like when you first started, when it first came on, from the opening, from uh the intro to just kind of everything coming in. What were your thoughts on this first episode?
It was refreshing. It was
Hmm.
quite a throwback to see the old folks get together again. And I love how the X-Men and Magneto's little group of rebels all come in and they clash.
Hmm.
It's so 90s, it's so old school.
Hmm.
It really warms my heart.
Yes,
And the new stuff that they added too as well. That was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed the animation enhancement. That was really good. I got kind of, production um geek geekified on that. I also enjoyed we'll get to in a moment, but one of my favorite parts of the entire series, which was kind of Storm's situation, but we'll get to that. But I loved seeing Storm. I love kind of like this kind of like activist haircut that she has going on. It was kind of, her little rocking out hairstyle, and
Yeah.
it was just really nice. And then a lot of them were wearing their original costumes, and I really enjoyed that as well. Because we've seen
And
a
to
lot.
see Bishop too, which
Yes,
was
I really enjoyed
unusual.
seeing Bishop. Yeah, it was very unusual to see it because usually he kind of was an add-on and he wasn't like really a part of the X-Men. He just kind of like
No,
helped the X-Men. So that was nice to see him in there as an official X-Men. Um, and I also like how they did Morph. He wasn't like the 90s version of Morph because I felt like this type of Morph was like what he should look like. So that was actually really, really dope that they changed them up a little bit. Um, yeah, that was
yeah.
cool. I also like going to my favorite part of the episode and probably of the one of my favorite parts of the series. There has been a lot of speculation on whether or not Storm is an Omega level mutant, and even arguing even deeper for some if she's a beyond Omega level. And so there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of frustration, and honestly, a lot of racism, if we want to talk about it, amongst the nerd and blurred communities. And so people just don't want to give Storm her flowers, and it's really really frustrating. It's really really annoying. But you know that's here nor there. We can go into a tangent on that, but it was confirmed. It was confirmed, you know, because the Sentinels, when Cyclops had called in and said, uh, "Give him the forecast," which is like a favorite portion of the episode. Um, Storm steps out like the goddess that she is, and they said Omega level mutant detected, and it was just confirming, and it was kind of like a breath of fresh air for me, and a relief because it was like, okay, now you guys that were being racist, and all you guys that were being that were trying to hate on Storm, you guys can shut up. She's Omega level. You deal with it. You know what I mean?
Well,
Um,
yeah, we got it, and
mhm,
then to me, this is what before we go, I say what I want to say. I
mhm,
will
mhm,
say that X-Men from the 90s
mhm.
always downplayed her power level.
Always.
Always.
Mhm,
So I see why some of the haters will say, well, no, she's not. No, she's not. I
mhm,
get why you say that. It's because, there is so much haterade on her to
mhm,
suppress her and to make her seem like she's just, she's a part of the team. She needs other people to help her take
mhm.
somebody down. That is not the truth.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
this series really, hopefully, 97 will step it up with
Mhm,
Storm
yeah,
and really show her. Unfortunately, I mean, I think in this first episode, we got a chance to really see her power level. She didn't
yeah.
need anybody to help her.
She
They
didn't.
called her.
Yeah, she was their ace in the hole. You know what I'm saying? She was their Joker, you know, if you play spades. You know what I'm saying? She is that girl. But then we find out like towards the end of this episode that Magneto is the new headmaster and owner of the and actually executive of state of Xavier's fortune, and he entrusted him with the institute as well as the leadership of the X-Men, which was kind of a huge like kind of plot twist because it was like Magneto's been a kind of formidable um
Antagonist.
antagonist. Yeah, because I don't want to say enemy because he had a they had a mutual respect for each other, Xavier and Magneto, but they fought each other. That they were at odds. So it was just really interesting that Xavier entrusted him with the X-Men of all things and the Institute. So it was just weird. But whatever. Do your thing. Um, but we go into episode 2 with the mutant liberation when the mutant liberation begins, and so while trying to live up to Xavier's legacy, Magneto has taken to saving humans and mutants alike, and refraining from killing anti-mutant militants. Distrustful of him, Cyclops and Jean stay to observe Magneto while Rogue sympathizes with his struggles. That's a great way to put it,
She sure
sympathizes.
did
He sympathized,
sympathize.
honey.
Mhm.
When UN forces led by Valerie Cooper arrive at the Institute to arrest Magneto for his past terrorism, he surrenders peacefully, hoping to gain the X-Men and humanity's trust. During his trial at the UN's headquarters, the Friends of Humanity staged an assault on the building. Um, their leader, Executioner, attempts to shoot a depowering radiation blast at Magneto, but Storm takes the hit for him. Magneto stops the assault so after which the UN grants him a pardon and discuss the possibility of integrating the mutant nation Genosha. So
Yeah,
Storm
that was
loses
a
her
lot.
power, her powers, after this blast,
In
and
episode two,
it was like the second episode, dude. I was like, we
and
just saw her.
not even at the end of the episode. It was
No,
like towards the beginning of the
yeah,
episode.
it was like we're just gonna go ahead and show how that she is the baddest girl on the block, and then we're gonna take her powers away. Like it was just like it made me so angry, and it kind of deflated me, honestly, Dominic, because I wanted to like not watch it anymore. Like that, because I was like, you
Yeah,
just gave me, and this is what happens. This is what I get frustrated with Marvel, and even sometimes with DC or a lot of superhero movies. You give us what we want for a second, and then it's taken away. And like for example, Black Panther, we know that nobody could have saw, nobody knew about Chadwick Boseman's struggles that were going on. But it's like we had just got him. You know what I'm saying? We had just got Black Panther and we lost him. And then I had a feeling like once we lost him, I felt like they weren't gonna do they weren't going to honor it. They could have did anything. They could have got another T'Challa from a different dimension. They could have revived him, and he had a facial reconstruction or whatever. They could have just replaced the character. They could have did so many different things to keep the T'Challa storyline intact, and they chose not to. And it's like y'all don't care about what we want, and so it would just really frustrated me to the point where I almost stopped watching it. So, what were
yeah.
your
You know,
thoughts when that happened?
I totally agree with you. The
Mhm.
only reason why it didn't is because this storyline, this plot of Storm losing her powers, is indeed comic book accurate.
It is
In the
absolutely.
comic book, she loses them and she finds her way back. And I believe in the comic book version, uh, that all she really had to do was believe in herself because her powers technically could never be taken away from her.
Hmm.
So they're gonna do some whole that whole corny storyline of just believe in yourself as
Now,
I believe
no,
in you. You know, it's
right.
like, come on, calm down, people.
You are the wind beneath my wings. Yeah, I get it. I understand all of that, but like I guess the timing of it all, it just like you just gave me
It
Storm.
hit you in the wrong, yeah, it
It
hit
just
in the wrong spot. It's like, could
it
y'all have done this in
yeah.
season two of this
Yes.
reboot?
Like you could have did this at a later time. You could have did this never, honestly, but I just wish
Well,
it was
again, part
triggering.
of the
It was just
problem
triggering.
is that she is so flipping powerful. It's hard to write problems for someone who is as overpowered as Storm is.
They don't have a
She's
problem writing
so
Jeans,
overpowered.
but they don't have a problem writing Jeans. Jean. Jean is super powerful. She's Omega level telepath.
Well, yes, but what's the difference?
There's a huge difference, and you know what the difference is.
Yes.
Hmm. Let's move on, shall we?
So there we go.
So episode 3 comes in, and this is a fire made flesh. Fire made flesh. This
Wait,
one
wait,
was.
wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You didn't finish episode two. Meanwhile,
Oh yes.
Jean
Oh
goes into
yes.
labor.
Jean goes into labor, and Rogue is forced to absorb the obstetrician's knowledge when he refuses to deliver a mutant baby. Jean gives birth to a son, whom she names Nathan. When Beast informs Storm that Executioner's blast depowered her permanently, she leaves the team to find new meaning in life. While discussing her decision, the X-Men are surprised by the sudden arrival of a woman who looks identical to Jean. Mhm, mhm.
Again, a
Do-do-do-do-do.
storyline that is extremely comic book accurate.
Is. Yep.
This was my favorite part of episode two.
Mhm, 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 mhm. Yes.
Knowing
Very,
that
very good
Scott
part.
had Jean and he had the clone,
Mhm, mhm.
and he was in love with both of them,
Yes,
two
yes.
Jeans.
Mhm, mhm. 'Cause he's a whore. There was so
Very
episode 3,
kinky.
very good kid. Episode 3, Fire Made Flesh, which was directed by Emmy Unamara, excuse me, and written by Bo DeMaio and Charlie Feldman. Um, and I don't know if I said it, but last episode, episode 2, was directed by Chase Conley and written by Bo DeMaio. Bo DeMaio
Yeah,
pretty much wrote
everything's
this
going to
entire
be.
season. Okay, just FYI.
And and even though he has been terminated,
Hmm.
allegedly he wrote all of season 2 as well. So
Yeah,
that's why they're able to go right back into production.
right, exactly. Which means that if season 2 does even better than season 1, because season 1 is really kicking behind right now, um, they better bring back Bo DeMaio, because that's ridiculous.
Well, it's
That's
going to be
ridiculous.
weird if they hire somebody else for season 3. It's going to now feel
Yeah,
like a soft reboot. So
exactly.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So the X
Marvel,
Men
like
take
you said, Marvel loves to screw things up in this manner.
they just
Anyway,
don't
go
have
ahead.
any consistency. It's weird.
No.
It's like bad sex. You're not even doing the right strokes right. Anyway, I digress. The X Men the X Men take in the Gene look the X-Men taking the Gene lookalike, who Beast determines is the real Gene. Mr. Sinister contacts the other Gene, revealing her to be a clone he created before asserting control of her and turning her into the Goblin Queen. She kidnaps Nathan and hands him off to Sinister before subjecting the X-Men to horrific visions until the real Jean tel- confronts her telepathically, during which her latter reminds her of their shared memories. Morph leads the X-Men to one of Sinister's labs, where they find him injecting Nathan with a techno-organic virus under the belief that it will turn him into the ultimate mutant. Free of Sinister's control, the clone turns on him. But Sinister escapes while Nathan is left gravely ill. The clone and Cyclops task Bishop with taking Nathan to the future in the hopes of finding a cure there. Afterwards, the clone leaves the X-Men, taking the name Madeline Pryor. Meanwhile, Storm meets with Forge, who claims that he can restore her powers. What were your thoughts on this episode?
This was, I hate to say it, but my favorite episode
Oh, really?
of the season so far. Yes, episode
Mm,
3 was my
mhm.
favorite episode of the season. Fire Made Flesh is a really good episode.
It
It
really
felt
was.
like we were back in time watching the original series. That
Yeah.
is how dope it was to me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It definitely was one of the my top episodes. It wasn't my favorite, but it was my top. It's in my top 3 episodes. Well,
Yeah,
top 2.
episode 1, episode 3
Mhm.
are my yeah, episode 3 more so in
Mhm.
honesty because I love the build up to Cable,
Yeah.
right? Nathan is Cable.
Yep. Mhm.
And this is all comic book accurate that he was being infected by
Mhm.
Sinister with something weird, and the clone situation was all weird. But now my question has always been, why can't Marvel be a little bit more creative with their names? Goblin Queen? Why are we connecting this to a Spider-Man villain?
Yeah, that was
It's
weird.
weird.
Yeah. Mhm. I never understood the Goblin Queen for
Ah,
Madeline Pryor. That was weird.
it was super weird.
But
So
hey.
outside of that, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing Morph face his fears because that truly connected back to the original
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
series as well, and it showed how he has grown and changed since being uh, experimented on by Mr. Sinister. So this was pretty good. And Mr. Sinister, for me, was always someone who was a big mystery.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
until the end of the original series did they actually go through his background.
Mhm. Mhm. And they
So
actually
it
barely went through his background too
barely
in the
went through his
original.
background. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Now, the next episode, that is coming. Now, I want to touch on before we go into the next episode. I enjoyed when Storm met Forge. Um, I
Yes, I'm
didn't
into
know
that.
because it kind of got me into a space where I was like, okay, I can keep watching. because now I want to know. I love how they kind of split it into multiple side story or multiple stories, and it's kind of like we're watching two episodes in one, two different episodes in one, which we'll see more of in this next episode, episode 4, which was called Motendo, and Love Death Part 1, which was directed by Chase Conley and written by Bo DeMaio and Charlie Feldman. The X Men
Yes, it was
wish
called Life Death.
Life Death,
Life
excuse
Death.
me, Life Death, Part 1. So the X-Men wish to celebrate Jubilee's 18th birthday against Magneto's wishes. However, they cannot support her choice to spend it at the arcade. Roberto consoles her before they are pulled into a video game based on her previous adventures created by Mojo. Jubilee considers staying, but an older digital copy of herself from the game's beta version called As Aspiseca, Sessa, something like that, convinces her that she would be living an empty life. With Sessa's aid, Jubilee and Roberto fight their way through the game and defeat Mojo before Spiral sends them back to the real world, where Jubilee kisses Roberto. Meanwhile, Storm heads to Forge's ranch to undergo a procedure meant to restore her powers, but it fails. All throughout, she notices a strange owl stalking her. When Forge admits to inadvertently contributing to the government developing mutant inhibitor collars, enraged Storm flees. However, the owl brings her back and poisons Forge to feed on her despair, revealing itself as a demon called the Adversary in the process. What were your thoughts on this?
I know this episode actually I really did enjoy.
Mhm,
Jubilee is one of my least favorite characters, to be honest. I don't care if she's there or if she's not. This new Roberto guy, I don't care if he's there or not. I don't think that they really are cool or needed to move the storyline along. However, it was fun to see Mojo.
mhm,
I thought while in the video game, it was absolutely insane to think that Jubilee could take down Magneto and everybody else that she was fighting. She's never been able to take down a Sentinel even on her own. But she
mhm.
was able to do all of that within this video game. So, Mojo, next time you do this video game, girl, you need to step it up and make it a far more like life, okay? Because
Okay.
Jubilee is not that powerful. Even her clone, Abscissa,
Mhm.
Abscissa, Sissa,
Sure, her.
it was that whole thing with her doing sparkly spinners, and that was supposed to be like a level up type of thing. It just did not really do too much for me. Now, on the other side with Storm and Forge, I was kind of with Storm because I felt like Forge misled her. He's like, "Oh, you're such a beautiful African queen. Let me adore you and worship you and all that." She like, "Look, you said that you could help me with my problem.
Mhm.
You didn't say nothing about all now you spitting on this game."
Right.
And that turned me off.
Yeah.
Forge is a very good looking cartoon guy, and you could see him and Storm would make a nice looking couple. But I felt the same. It's like you got all these secrets, dude. You're bringing all this stuff up. You were not truly sincere with your intentions. You misled her. And
Mhm,
then, oh, by the way, let me confess to this horrible thing that has really hurt so many of your kind.
mhm,
I would have ran
mhm.
too if I was her. Like, let me get on
When
out
sh
of here. But the
when she
demon
smacked
thing,
yeah.
yes, that,
No, I was just gonna
and
say
let me
when she
just,
smacked oh, I'm
mhm.
sorry, go ahead.
I was the last thing I was gonna say is the whole demon thing with this being her adversary, that whole owl. I am looking forward to see how that turns out because for some reason I think her powers are gonna come back through her fight with this demon. So
Yeah,
that's it.
I agree with you on that. And I was just gonna say when she slapped the crap out of him, I was just like relieved because I was like, "Girl, I'm not feeling him. I'm not feeling him for you." I just don't think that you two, we need to find somebody else. And I just don't like. We have a mission right now, and that's to get your powers back. We don't have no time for no relationships, girl. Like this is just not. I'm not. I'm not feeling you right now, Forge, because it feels like you brought her there under false pretenses, and it kind of felt like it was like this kind of quid quo pro kind of thing, or quo
Exactly.
kind of thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna help you find your power or get your powers back, so you got to give me some cooch. Like that's just not cool. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that's
No,
just not how we're gonna how it should rock.
but that
But
is
mhm,
that is how people are. That is how
mhm,
people are in
mhm.
real life, you know?
Yeah.
They will lie to you to get what they want and
Mhm.
then somehow, try to it's just all a mess. And
Yeah.
that's though he really kind of came across creepy to me. And
Yeah.
I do not like him.
Yeah, yeah. Forge has
Or
always been
True.
a weird version of Xavier to me. Like because he led another team in the original cartoon. Um
Yeah.
and they they were kind of allies, but they obviously they started out like kind of how like the Morlocks were. They started out as like adversaries, and then they became allies, whatever.
Yeah.
But Forge always had secrets. Forge always, even in the comics, he's always had secrets. He's always been kind of this person that knew more than what he let on.
Yeah.
And he,
I don't like liars. Like
yeah,
I can't do.
he's weird. It was kind of like he's the type of person that I can see in Section 31 in Star Trek. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
because he knows how to compartmentalize every single thing and gives
Hmm.
you information as he thinks you need it. Those aren't
Right.
the kind of people that you should ever date
Yeah. Right.
to me.
Um. Exactly. Stay away from a storm. Um. But that's here nor there. Now, I personally, that was the life death portion of everything with Storm and Forge. I personally did not find Motendo, the first half of the show. I did not find that to be entertaining. I felt like it was a filler episode. So I didn't enjoy it. I don't like Jubilee at all. And Roberto, aka Sunspot, this version of him is really annoying. So I just need him to come into his powers and really like kind of get comfortable with himself, because that version of him I'm cool with. But this whole like, oh, I don't want my parents to know I'm in the closet, mutant closet thing, girl. It's 2024. Let's move forward. Come on now.
No, it's not. It's 1997.
Let's move forward. Okay, let's move forward. Um, so yeah, so that's just how I feel about the whole situation,
In
and
the shows,
with that.
it's still 1997.
Yeah, but even in 1997, we had we were progressing a little more. And
Yeah,
you're
that's
on like
true.
it's like, come on, let's move forward. Let's get out. You're there, girl. It's all right.
I agree. It's annoying. But I
Yeah.
enjoy seeing Mojo. I really did because he's so annoying and crazy. And he it reminded me of remember when he kidnapped the X-Men in the original
Yeah.
series and put them in the game. So it was kind
Mm-hmm.
of a throwback to that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just Jubilee of all people.
Yeah, I can't. And then I think honestly what bothered me about that is like they tried to make Jubilee um they tried to make that whole thing with Jubilee this whole, because everybody talks about how Jubilee is so insignificant and so weak and whack. But to see like them try to power her up, girl, girl. Okay, girl. Like you showed a feature version of her or a digital copy version of her, or whatever she was. And she's supposed to be like a more controlled, more powerful version of Jubilee. And all of a sudden, like, why can't you use your powers like that? Instead of playing video games, girl, go practice. I don't know.
Yes. And then I don't remember her getting kidnapped and being a part of the game in the original series. So I was confused with how Mojo got a beta version of her.
So
That
yeah. So
was
apparently it was a
confusing to
digital
me.
copy of her. It wasn't like her. It wasn't like a clone. It was like a digital copy of
Correct. But how would he have gotten that if she had never been a part of their games? That's what confused me.
hmm,
But
I
part
don't know.
two, there is a part two of going to eventually come out, so maybe they'll explain that a little bit
Well, I
more.
thought the
You
part
understand
2.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, but I thought the part 2 was for, Life Death, not, Motendo.
Oh, well, whatever. It was just it was part one was in the title, so I don't
Mhm.
know if there's going to be the same title with a part two.
Yeah.
Usually that's
Um,
how it rolls, so we'll see.
yeah, I see on the future episodes. It doesn't give the synopsis, but it says the actual titles of them. It's just
Yeah.
Life Death Part Two. So I don't see a Motendo Part Two. So we'll see. I would like to see more of Mojo though, because I did enjoy him, and I think he's a really cool adversary for the team to kind of play around
Well,
with. So
he's so show business. That's what I always get a kick out of him because he's so show business.
yeah, yeah. All right, well, let's take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about the episode 5, which is my personal favorite, and I think shook the entire world from what I've seen even on TikTok. But let's get into this commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk about episode 5.
Hey pilots, did you know that you can now catch the electrifying sounds of Bullet and Flight Radio anywhere you go? Yes, you heard it right. Tune in to the high flying beats and soaring melodies by downloading the TuneIn app on your mobile device. Just search for Bullet and Flight Radio and hit play. It's that easy. And if you have a smart device like Alexa or Google, just say, "Hey Google," or "Alexa, play Bullet and Flight Radio on TuneIn." Experience the rush of adrenaline wherever you are. Listen to Bullet and Flight Radio on TuneIn using your Alexa or Google devices. Soaring through the skies has never sounded this good. Don't miss out on the ultimate musical journey. Tune in now to Bullet and Flight Radio on TuneIn and let the music take you on an unforgettable ride. Get ready to elevate your listening experience. Brought to you by Bullet and Flight Radio.
And we're back, you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you for downloading this episode of the Unusual Mavericks, the podcast. You can check us out live every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the Unusual Mavericks Live, where we talk about all things Marvel, DC, and pretty much anything in the blurred world. So we give you the latest news that is going on with movies, trailers, and all that stuff. And we talk about characters, black characters, obscure black characters that you may not have heard about, and influencers that have helped the blurred community. So definitely check it out right here on Pirate Media Network, and you can listen to it, the reruns on Bullet and Flight Radio, the number one progressive Christian and inspirational radio station in the world. All right, y'all, we just talked about basically the first half of X-Men 97. So if you're just tuning in, we're getting ready to go into episode 5, which was called Remember It. So this episode was directed by Unamaro and written by Bo DeMaio. Cyclops and Jean have grown distant, unable to reconcile their separate lives. Worsening matters, she discovers he has been communicating telepathically with Madeline and begins to develop feelings for Wolverine. Meanwhile, after Genosha is admitted into the UN, Magneto, Rogue, and Gambit head to the country, where Rogue and Gambit reunite with Madeline and Nightcrawler while Magneto meets with the Genosian Council, um, who wish to make him their leader. He agrees on the provision that Rogue serve alongside him. After telling Gambit about the plan and admitting to having previous history with Magneto, brown chicken, brown cow, Rogue declines Magneto's proposal during the inauguration gala. Cable arrives to warn the X-Men of the impending attack, but is sent back to the future. Amidst this, um, Madeline realizes Cable is an adult Nathan. Suddenly, a wild sentinel appears and leads a group of sentinels in attacking Genosha, seemingly killing Madeline, Magneto, and dozens of other mutants. Gambit sacrifices himself to destroy the Wild Sentinel, leaving Rogue heartbroken. This was the most craziest episode in the entire series, at least so far. What were your thoughts, Dominic?
Three words. The Red Wedding.
Yes.
Game of Thrones.
Yes.
That was an episode that I don't think I'll ever forget in
Mm-mm.
my life.
Nope.
It was so horrific and traumatizing.
Absolutely.
This episode, as an animated cartoon, now we all know that Disney and Marvel has had a thing for years where they're PG 13 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
This episode, in regards to violence, is rated R.
Yeah.
Absolutely rated R.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like there was absolutely no hope. But, the way Beast looked
Mm-hmm.
and how he just gasped for air and just kind of sighed, and I think he started to weep. That was
Mm-hmm.
how I felt by the
Mm-hmm.
conclusion of this episode. It was like, what just had happened?
Yeah. 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 This episode, you know what it was, Dominic? I think what took me by surprise, episode 1, 2, 3, even 4 had this, like, even though we were kind of devastated with Storm, that was like the extent of violence that was going to be that we've seen even in the original animated series in the 90s. We didn't see this level of violence before,
Yeah,
when it came to the show. And this level of violence is something that we see, this level of darkness is something that we see in DC animation, which is
correct.
something that we love and we enjoy, and what pulls adults and other people to the DC animation, why they, in my opinion, have reigned supreme.
They
This
have.
was one of the best animated episodes, in my personal opinion, in Marvel history. Because it was like, oh, y'all took it there. Like, this is what we've been waiting for. I was not expecting that, because when you go on Disney Plus, we're talking Disney, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, all of the rainbows, the unicorns, the fairy dust, everything. So we're not expecting anything that's super crazy like what we just saw in this particular episode. So when that happened, it, number one, took me off guard, because I'm not, when I watch a DC show or DC animated show, or hell, even Game of Thrones, I'm prepared. I'm like, okay, some crap's about to go down. I may not recover. So let me go ahead and just get myself ready, and into a mental preparation for this particular situation, right? But when it came um to this episode, I'm not thinking anything of it. I'm not thinking that we're gonna see all of these mutants, like, die, blood, and all of this stuff or whatever. I'm not,
Trauma. Right.
trauma. I'm not thinking all of that. And then to see Rogue cry the way she did, that scene was just beautifully written. It was just, and beautifully produced. Like, it was just a phenomenal episode. It shook me to the core. And um even in more news, Bo DeMaio had responded to this on social media, and said, if you guys thought that was crazy, wait till you see the rest of season 1. So
And I
that's
have a
just,
feeling that season two is going to be very interesting as
oh
well.
yes, oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. I'm this episode, I think, in my personal opinion, probably helped to save Disney Plus, in my opinion. For sure, people are tuning in to watch Marvel, or to watch X-Men 97 now. If for
Yeah, it
nothing
is
else.
very true. It is very true. And according to IMBD, this fifth episode is the most reviewed and highest rated episode.
Yeah,
The episode, it has out of a 10, a perfect 10, it has a 9.8
yeah,
score. The
yeah,
episode that gets closest is episode 2,
yeah, yeah.
and then
Which
3.
was which I say again?
And then 3 comes in third place.
Yeah,
But it's
but what
funny, the
I'm
week
not.
before, the Jubilee episode is the lowest rated episode and has the worst reviews. So what you're saying
Well,
is
yeah,
true.
episode.
Yeah, what we were saying. Yeah, you're right.
And the thing is, Dominic, like if Life Death Part One wasn't attached to Motendo, I don't think that episode would. I think people would have bailed on X-Men 97, in my personal opinion. I really do. Because it was a filler episode. We got all these great episodes, and then you give us that. Had Life Death not been on there, I don't know if that episode would have survived.
Correct. So that's why next week is going to be really important because it is supposed to solely focus on, or Storm is supposed to be the major focus, not
Yeah.
just some little end part with 2 minutes left in the episode and we get just a little taste of her.
Hmm.
We are really supposed to get a lot of Storm over this next episode in Life Death Part 2. So
Yeah.
I am really interested to see how they're going to wrap this up.
Now, one of the things I wanted to point out, because I was very interested to see the love triangle with Rogue, Magneto, and Gambit. Gambit has always been Rogue's guy. You know what I'm saying? Like Gambit has, at least in the original series, Gambit has always been Rogue's guy. And so to see this twist of Magneto and Rogue getting together, that was a really strange situation. Like, it was very interesting to me. But I got it at the same time. Um, but she said something, and it was something that Gambit said. It's like, I think he said something about love is not always felt, like physical. It's not physical touch or something like that, or something like that she had with Gambit that she didn't have with Magneto.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, she can touch Magneto. They could kiss or whatever, but the connection that Gambit and Rogue have was just ridiculous, and so I don't know, it was just a really interesting situation. um
Yeah, I mean, to me, they always came across as, yeah, we would if we could, but we're best friends.
you
That is
talking
how
about
I've always taken their, yes, Rogue and
Rogue and
Gambit.
Gambit? Huh.
We would if we could, but we're best friends.
Hmm.
That's the way
Interesting.
it's always come out. And so to me, and
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe Magneto can intensify Gambit's energy force field around him, his kinetic uh output, and maybe the three of them can have a conversation.
Hmm. that's
Hmm.
that's what we'll call it then. I did love the entrance of Cable. I think Cable is such a really interesting um character. And I don't think people realize that he actually is psionic. And so I find him to be very interesting. Let me go ahead and pull up his powers. Yeah, so he's
Because
actually
he's a bit of both of his parents.
correct. So he has
Yeah,
telepathy, obviously, technology, telekinesis, super strength, uh, teleportation, and hand-to-hand combat skills, obviously. But I don't think people realize that his telekinesis and his telepathy is what is so powerful that it's holding back that virus that's in him. It's controlling that virus.
yeah.
That's power. That's intense power. Like
Yes, it
50
is.
to 75% of that of his telekinesis and his telepathy is being used to subdue that mutant virus that's in him. That's power, and it's constant even when he's sleeping. That's crazy. That's super powerful.
It is. It
So
really is.
yeah. So that's interesting about that. And so also just how everything went down. Like I said, this was a really one of the best episodes. I felt like the world like yeah, it's kind of how I felt like when you said with the
Absolutely.
red wedding. The red wedding was like that, and
Yes.
also the purple wedding was like that too. With the what do you call it? With the Game of Thrones as well. So it it's hard to get those moments where you get a show where it's like so viral, like this is a cartoon, and so for it to be such a massive thing, I'm seeing it all over people's reactions all over TikTok. I saw people's reactions all
Yeah.
over Facebook, like Twitter. Like it was a massive people are reacting to it, and it's a cartoon. This was a crazy, crazy show, episode, and I just thought it was really dope, and I wonder what's gonna happen in the next rate the rate. I would love to see the ratings for the next episode, because the next episode, and whoever ordered it, like obviously it was probably Bo Mayo, but whoever put these in order was genius, because now we're getting a full episode of Life Death Part 2 in episode 6. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see how that um to see what they do with that, because it doesn't feel like it's going to be a filler episode.
I agree. This is from the synopsis of episode 6. It appears as though this is going to solely revolve around Storm. There's
Hmm.
no other storyline listed as a description. I'm sure, of course, they're going to show everybody
Hmm.
and show what's happening meanwhile at the ranch, but this is truly about Storm. And
Yeah.
so it's going to really, this is something that I've been waiting for since she got shot with the gun in episode 2.
Yeah. 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 So, huh, do you have anything else about the first half of I mean, that's the first half
That's
of
the first
X-Men
half.
97. Yeah.
Yep,
So this has
we
been a
got 5
great ride
episodes
so
left.
far. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. The next half,
And then I
looking
guess
forward to it.
DeMaio wrote another 10 episodes. I
For season
cannot
2.
stress that enough for season 2,
Hmm. They need to
which
bring him
they're
back.
already in production.
They need
Yeah,
to bring
it's
him back.
like, dude, what did he do? Why did y'all just get rid of him? It doesn't make any sense if he's got such a hot show.
I mean, this show has the potential to save Disney, or at least Marvel for sure, because it's been a, and if they're smart, they'll start making some shows based around X-Men, like movies rather, are
Now,
based around X-Men.
X-Men 97 is not a part of the MCU, is it? Is it a part of the main universe? I don't
No,
think
X-Men has not been a
it
part of it, because they
is.
did not have the rights to mutant for however long, and I don't know if they, because I believe Fox has the rights to the word mutant. So, and I think they just got that back a couple of years ago. So um yeah, they didn't they haven't done. That's why you see all these different types of X-Men movies, like different kind of um universes and canons and stuff like that. You have a Fox one with Holly Berry. You have another one with the with I guess the current cast that they have. There was another one where, so, like Quicksilver and Wanda was in Avengers, and they were, it was just crazy, because they have two different Quicksilvers. So it's just interesting. I hope that they're going to be able to utilize X-Men 97 as a way to kind of make that the main canon, because I've always known X-Men, the animated series, to be the most comic book accurate. At least that's what we look at it as, and then now with 97, we're they're able to do more by bringing on, like, from the comic books, they're able to bring in more from the comic books, instead of worrying about who's going to play this character, who's going to be casted to do this, and who's going to look like this, and so they can do what they can with the animated version, and see what they can go with that. But so I don't know. I hope that they do more. I hope that this helps kind of align everything. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see where what Marvel does, because they've had a lot of missteps, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation, it appears, about
Hmm.
is X-Men 97 a part of the MCU?
Hmm.
Because I guess there was a cameo from
Hmm.
the MCU that made their debut in X-Men 97.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how they go about this. I understand the temptation. This show is running hot right now.
Hmm.
So with that, they may actually want to bring it back. We'll have
Yep.
to see.
Yep. 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 We'll see how it goes.
I mean,
All right.
combine them. What I didn't say bring them back, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. I totally understand what you mean. All right, y'all. Well, that is going to do it for our first episode of the Unusual Mavericks podcast. Thank you guys so much for reviewing the first half of X-Men 97. If you want to watch X-Men 97, you can go to Disney Plus and check out X-Men 97 there. Disney Plus. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. But this is the first episode. We will be back to review the other half once X-Men 97 is completed. So this is part one. And stay tuned for more episodes of the Unusual Mavericks podcast, where we go ahead and deep dive into series and different shows within the nerd world. Dominic, do you have anything else before we go?
Yes. One small thing. Did you happen to know in the last episode that the Watcher was in the shadows?
I saw it after I saw somebody point that out on TikTok. So I did not see him originally. I'm gonna go back and watch it because I before this episode I went back to go rewatch episode 4, Motendo and Life Death part 1,
Okay.
just because I wanted to kind of get refreshed on that and make sure that I was still justified in me saying that Jubilee is a waste of space. So yeah. But I will go back and watch episode 5 because I think that episode is worth watching. So I want to see
Yeah.
that cameo because the Watcher
And
is
it's
a pretty important person. And
he appears in the skies above Genosha in the moments right before the Sentinel attacks. So it's
hmm,
for a split second that you'll see his shadows in the cloud. It looks like the clouds.
hmm.
So that is leaving a lot of people thinking, well, what just happened? Now they're connecting what if to X-Men 97. What just happened? This is so cool.
That is
So
dope.
anyway, we'll see. Yeah.
We'll see if they start bringing stuff like that. Like I said, one of the great things about Phase One, we talked about this on the Unusual Mavericks Live, and one of the great things about Marvel Phase One and even parts of Phase Two is that they had this unification thing that they had going on, and that's what we loved because it made it feel like they were building a world, they were building a
Yeah.
universe, and so
And
they
even
they
though it may not be a part of the main MCU, they should still connect it. I do
they
like
should
that.
still connect it, in some way, shape, or form. So we'll see how it all goes, and hopefully it'll pan all out because I am tired of this fragmented universe because I don't know what Moon Knight had to do with the main universe. I don't know what She-Hulk had to do with the main universe because she was garbage. And, like it was just weird. It was just weird. So
I agree.
anywho, back to X-Men 7. So that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to tune in on Thursdays where you can catch me and Dominic on the Unusual Mavericks Live, right here on Pyro Media Network. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and we'll see you on the next one. And stay unusual.
That's right.
Bye, y'all.
This episode is brought to you by Pyro Media Network, produced by Pyro Media Productions, setting brands ablaze since 2017. Thank you for listening.